My name is Rita Pandey. I am Assistant Professor of Law at the Department of Law, DAV PG College, Dehradun. Today I will be discussing about a new topic, which is a role of a teacher in a multicultural and multi-ethnic society. Before proceeding with the topic, let me give an overview what I am going to discuss under it. In the first section, I will be discussing what is a multicultural society and what are its various aspects, along with what is a multicultural education. Then I will be talking about the constitutional guarantees available to protect the cultural diversity in India, followed by a few judicial cases and what the NEP 2020 says about cultural diversity. In the later part, I will be discussing about the challenges in multicultural education and how a teacher can override these challenges by playing a proactive role in the benefit of the society as well as the nation. So, before proceeding further, let me share my PPT. Here I have opened my PPT. As I have already told, the topic for today's discussion is role of a teacher in a multicultural and multi-ethnic society. So before proceeding with the lecture, let me reiterate what Kofi Annan said about the cultural diversity. He said, we may have different religions, different languages, different colored skin, but we all belong to one human race. So with this quotation, I would like to start with my presentation. In introduction part, I'll be discussing what is a multicultural or multi-ethnic society. So it is viewed as a society where different cultural or racial groups live and work together and share equal status without being discriminated. These groups enjoy equal right to freedom, right to language, right to equality, custom, tradition, without having the fear of persecution. Here, the freedom is not only limited to the religion or the language or the custom, but it is also the freedom of equal access to education, healthcare, and other amenities provided by the government. When we talk about the cultural diversity may exist in the form of different architecture, different clothing, different food, festival, custom, religion. And the most important is the diversity that exists in the education system. We know that we have an education system which starts with the primary to the higher level. And in this education system, we have variety of students belonging to diversity of backgrounds. They have different religions, different ethnic cultures, and different beliefs. This diversity exists from primary level to the very higher level of education. We all know that India has emerged as one of the important hub of education, and many foreign students come here for study, maybe for higher education or for pursuing jobs. We also have a survey of higher education in 2011 and 12, wherein it was revealed, it was observed that India was home to 33,000 foreign students, and this strength is gradually emerging. Although the situation like COVID-19 has curbed this strength to some extent, but still, India is one of the primary choice of foreign students for further higher education. When a foreign student come to India for study, then he not only uplift the financial status of the educational institution in which he has come to study, but also he brings the socio-cultural values along with him. In that scenario, it becomes very necessary that we as a teacher inculcate multicultural education in our system. Our focus should be on the multicultural education, wherein equal opportunities are being provided to all the students, irrespective of their background, their caste, creed, religion, and belief. Coming on to the next slide, this ethnic and cultural diversity is also protected by our constitution. It has got so many provisions for protection of cultural diversity, among which I have discussed here some few provisions. Like Article 15.5 says that there shall be no discrimination on the basis of religion, race, caste, sex, or place of birth. Article 16 provides equal opportunity to every citizen in public employment. Likewise, Article 29, Clause 1 says that every person has a right to protect his language, his script, his culture, and there can be no discrimination in that point. Again, Article 30 provides the cultural and linguistic minorities with a right to establish educational institute of their choice. They have right to protect their cultural heritage. And 51AF, which is a fundamental duty, also talks about, that is, every citizen has a duty to preserve and to value its cultural heritage. So these were some of the constitutional provisions. Coming on to the point of judiciary, what the judiciary says for the protection of cultural rights in education system. So there are catena of cases for protection of cultural rights of the students, among which few I have discussed here, like the first case of Dayanand Anglo-Vedic College versus State of Punjab, AIR 1971. So here, the Supreme Court has recognized Arya Samaj as the religious minority, and it is said that Arya Samaj has every right to protect and conserve its religion under Article 29, Clause 1 of the Constitution. In unaided private schools of Rajasthan versus Union of India, AIR 2012, the Supreme Court protected the right of minority groups by curtailing a provision of Right to Education Act, which reserved 25% of the seats for SC, ST, and OBC in private unaided minority education institutions. Again, in Shastri versus Muldas, the Supreme Court played a proactive role and curtailed down the plea of a Satsangi sect who challenged the entry of untouchables in the Hindu temples. So in this way, we see that how the Supreme Court played a proactive role in protecting the cultural rights of diverse group of people. Coming on to the next slide. And now we have with us our robust policy, which is National Education Policy 2020. There are some provisions in the National Education Policy also that protect the cultural and ethnical diversity of India. A few provisions which I have mentioned here are as follows. Every school curriculum will include the material on human values, and it will contain a detailed knowledge of various cultures, religions, languages, genders, identities, in order to sensitize and develop respect for diversity. The next provision says that in order to maintain uniform standard for teacher education, the linguistic and cultural diversity of the country shall be kept in mind. And the next is every student has to participate in any fun activity on the languages of India, wherein the students will learn about the remarkable unity of most of the major Indian languages. So these were some of the statutory provisions provided for the protection of cultural and ethnical rights of diverse group of people, where on one hand we are talking about the protection of these rights. On the other hand, we have some challenges associated with multicultural type of education. Theoretically, it can be said that we are very positive towards cultural diversity. We often talk of cultural diversity in our schools and in our colleges, but practically we disagree on very trivial issues. So let us take the examples. Few days back, we have seen that some Muslim girls were stopped from entering a classroom because they were wearing hijabs. It gave birth to a hijab controversy. And in the last, the High Court has to intervene, though it was considered as not a essential practice in Islam. But why we are still talking about such issues? where we are talking about multicultural and multi-ethnic society, and on the other hand, we are just stick to the stigmas. So wearing hijab or wearing a chadar is a person's own choice. There should not be any type of interference in such choices. Likewise, the caste system still prevails in these institutes, higher education institutes especially. Like we have seen the case of Rohit Vemula, who was a PhD scholar at the University of Hyderabad. He committed suicide. Why? The university claims that because he could not complete some paperwork, so his fellowship was stopped. His fellowship of rupees 25,000 was stopped. But on the other side, there is another group which says that he was suspended from the university because he was a part of some association and he was raising some issues under the umbrella of that association. Whatever may be the reason, student has committed suicide, which is a signal for us that where is the cultural diversity in our colleges, in our schools. So this thing we should look upon very seriously. Another instance where we can see is that of racial discrimination. There still exists racial discrimination. The students from northeastern region, they have alleged in many instances in the past that they have been subjected to the racism by their friends, by their peers, and also by the faculty members. And we have also seen the instances where during the COVID period, a girl from northeastern part of the country was called as coronavirus. So the need of the hour is every education should be inclusive one, and a student from various backgrounds should be included, should be treated with equal respect and safety. Likewise, we also see the cases of discrimination of disabled students. The disabled students struggle a lot because they have to face many barriers. There is hardly any institution which provide accessibility for wheelchair mobility. The infrastructure is not as per the requirement of a disabled person. Even the Supreme Court has intervened in this process and said that higher education institutes should maintain 5% seats for the disabled person along with all the accessible infrastructure. But still, we can see it, even the institute of higher repute are not conforming to the provision of Supreme Court. There is still lacuna in this. There is still no facility provided to the disabled person. He can't access the staircase. He can't access library. So this is a very serious concern which needs to be looked upon. The another form of discrimination in multicultural education is linguistic discrimination. So there still exists linguistic discrimination, or we can call it ethnic accent bullying, wherein most often we have seen that the student of foreign countries are treated very differently. A student going to abroad from India or a student coming to India from abroad, they have a fear of ethnic bullying. What happens is that they are treated differently because of their accent. We all know that when a student comes to educational institute, he brings with him his culture, his belief, his way of life, and his ethnic identity. And also he brings his own style of speaking. So why do we bully him or her? It is his accent. Let him speak the way he wants. There has to be a sense of understanding that since people come from different backgrounds, so they have different accent. Their culture, their society have a great influence on their accent. So this is something that needs to be looked upon seriously, and some stringent steps need to be taken. Since we have talked about so many challenges, so what a teacher can do to overcome these challenges, to combat these challenges. So it is the foremost duty of every educational institution, of every teacher, to create an atmosphere where students belonging to multi-ethnic group feel comfortable, When they will feel comfortable, then only they will interact with each other. It is the duty of a teacher to inculcate a feeling of oneness among its students. They must recognize each other's religion, each other's belief. They must respect each other's ethnicity. The content of the curriculum should be so developed that almost all the cultures, their contributions, and their histories should be inculcated in it. And it must not reflect any biasness, must not reflect any discrimination. It should be such that it includes all the diverse groups. So, how a multicultural classroom should look like? It should look like this. Here in this slide, we can see that all the children belonging to China, belonging to Africa, and belonging to Afghanistan or India, all are studying together. They all are smiling in the same language. This should be the theme of every multicultural or multi-ethnic education system. So at last, I would like to conclude my lecture with a suggestion that when there exists diversity, there may be conflict. At that time, the teacher has to play, the school or the college administration has to play a proactive role. They have to be very responsive. They have to regard the diversity of the students. They have to take strict action and ensure a safe and equal treatment to all the students. So, when these things are ensured, unity in diversity is in true sense ensured. So, with this, I would like to end my lecture here, and I hope we as a teacher would be able to create a society wherein all the students have a feeling of oneness. Thank you so much.